We welcome back our Doctor on Call UK emergency physician, Dr. Ryan Stanton. He joins us a couple times a month to answer some of the questions you've submitted on our website. And if you have questions, you can just go to the Health tab and click on the drop-down menu and look for Doctor on Call to send us your questions. We have one. This one comes from Chuck. It's a big topic, so I'm going to let you explain it because I really don't know what Chuck's talking about. He wants to know more about microvascular decompression and how to get the surgery. He says his mom has had the disease for 17 years, and he would like to learn more about it. We'll start with the question I have. What is microvascular decompression?
It's a lot of big words, but basically what that means is taking the vessels off the nerves. So that's what microvascular decompression means. And what they found over research in neurosurgery is that a lot of the symptoms with some nerve injuries in the face are actually the vessels compressing those nerves. And they found that it's actually good results if they pull those vessels away. So microvascular decompression is used for the cranial nerves, which is the nerves in the head, to help out with certain nerve conditions. And so it's very common with one called trigeminal neuralgia, which is pain and numbness in the face. And that's a great picture right there of the trigeminal nerve, which is the one associated with what I was talking about, and the artery that runs right there with it. And what they do is they go in, open it up, put that pad in there. It's almost like a bumper or an airbag in between them, and allows that nerve to not quite regenerate, but to recover and hopefully get back symptoms. And there's been a lot of great research out there, and it's shown that about 70% of these folks, 10 years out, still have great relief of their symptoms.
Well, good to hear some options available to get relief from that. This other question actually came from Mary in the Weather Center. Mary's not here today, but we'll make sure that she finds out the answer to her question. And it's a common one. That's why we wanted to share it with you as well. She wants to know what shin splints are and why they're associated with athletes and runners, and importantly, how you can prevent them. Of course, this is running season, so a lot of people may have some of the same questions.
Well, I actually saw several people on the way out here out running. This is beautiful weather for running. Jeff can attest to that today. And what this really is the medical term is medial tibial stress syndrome. So the tibia being the bone right here in the front of our leg, as you see there, it's the larger bone. The smaller bone on the right, on the outside is the fibula. Where those muscles attach to the tibia is where we get this syndrome. It's the muscles that are involved in bringing our foot up when we run. So it's not the muscles that make us go forward, it's the ones that lift our foot. So it's overuse. Where those muscles attach to the bone, it gets really stressed out, really gets inflamed, and that's where the pain comes from. And as it gets more and more advanced, it may happen just during the exercise, but later will actually persist and can actually lead to microfractures or stress fractures in that bone. There's several things people can do to help prevent, to treat this once it happens. One is to rest. 2, ice. 3, keep it elevated. These are our main things for any type of musculoskeletal injury: the rest, ice, and elevate. Over-the-counter pain relievers, these would include the anti-inflammatories like ibuprofen or naproxen. Proper footwear, this is very important. This is one reason we see this a lot in military recruits, because those boots aren't made for walking. They are made for marching, and that causes us quite a bit. Arch supports, and then gradual return to activity. One of the main reasons people get this is from jumping into exercise routines too fast. We're now getting into the warm weather, and that's when we're going to see it with a lot of our weekend warrior runners. People like Mary, more of an overstress from using it too much. And so backing off a little bit, using those things right there can help them get back to a good routine.
Well, we'll be sure that Mary gets that information, and we know we have a lot of runners in the area because, like you said, you can't miss them out there on the streets and neighborhoods these days. If you have questions for Dr. Stanton, just, again, go to the Health tab at WTVQ.com. On that drop-down menu, you'll see the Doctor on Call section, and you can email us your questions, and maybe he'll answer them on a future segment. Thank you so much.
We'll do it.